It's at times like these that you find yourself looking back at the choices you've made up to this point and thinking about some of the mistakes along the way. And I've realized at this point that I've made some poor choices.
Following landing pad.
Now, our adventure begins here at Port Olisar. We've gotten a new patch, some new functionality, unfortunately some new and very, very aggressive crashes for the server at least. And we decided, hey, you know what? Let's try out the Reclaimer. Generally, when a new patch and they reset everything, when all that comes out, generally you can get the Reclaimer to work for like a day. And then eventually it just starts spawning again with no seats and no doors and it's broken and blah, blah, blah. No matter how many times you reclaim it or, delete your user folder, it remains busted. But here we are with the Reclaimer. It seems like a fresh Reclaimer. Now there's going to be something that you may or may not notice right away, something that they've changed. And there's now actually a flashing spot on the ground beneath the front elevator. You can just barely see it because I'm looking to see if the elevator is actually in the spot, so I actually miss it. But now there's a flashing spot on the ground where you can click. And see, I'm still trying to do it the old way here, like a nub. And then finally, I think I clue into the fact that there it is, and we can now call the elevator. So if there's an elevator, that means there are command consoles. That means we can fly the ship and make a Reclaimer episode and talk about the ship. Yay. Now, this video isn't intended to let you believe that the Reclaimer is now in a perfected state, that the Reclaimer is fine, everything's worked out. There are still a few bugs and boo-boos with the Reclaimer, and probably unintended. Like, for instance, the fact that the Reclaimer now has less range than the Vanguard, or seemingly the Caterpillar. Strange. Very strange indeed for a deep space salvage ship. So clearly a miscommunication or an error. But needless to say, we're still able to take the ship out and try to have some fun with it. I mean, there is no salvaging to be done in the game. There is no salvage mechanic in place. So figured, hey, why not take it out? Do a little cargo run with it and just have some fun with it, right? Now, one of the things that they have fixed with the Reclaimer, well, at least it appears to have been fixed with the Reclaimer in the current 3.0/AB whatever patch that we got today. In earlier versions of the 3.3 line, whenever you took the Reclaimer into an atmosphere, its VTOL capability was no longer strong enough to keep it in the air. And so when you would fly into a planet's atmosphere, you would immediately start dropping like a rock and it would not maintain its own altitude even when in landing mode, to the point where you actually had to continuously apply vertical thrust while trying to move forward at the same time because the ship just wanted to crash into the ground. Well, it seems that currently this is now fixed. So you can go and land the ship on planets again, and you no longer have to, maintain that vertical thrust while flying forwards for fear of crashing into the ground and dying horribly in a giant explosion. Bravo. Now, sadly, one of the problems that does persist with the Reclaimer is its landed state, especially on dynamic terrain and, environments other than landing pads. It's a little bit troubled. Now, I would assume that probably a good idea for how to govern how far the elevator, remains from the ground should probably be some type of function or some type of mathematical formula that kind of makes the elevator slide down to the height of the landing pad. So wherever the ground is, comparable to the landing pads, and that's how far down the elevator goes. So as long as you get onto reasonably flat ground, you should be able to get up onto the elevator. And additionally, these flaps that come down on either side should probably, when they drop down, they should probably extend a little further out, make them a little taller so they can form ramps. Also, unfortunately, the ship still does that little bunny hop maneuver where it bounces up and down. So, I don't know. I guess it's still trying to, as the kids say, make that ass clap. I don't know. Also, there's another weird atmospheric effect that I noticed, which is unrelated to the Reclaimer, but you can kind of see it, that wavy kind of heat effect in the environment, which is something I noticed as I got closer and closer to the ground. I'm not sure if that's intentional or if that's just an error in the game engine, because it kind of makes it not so much look like the Daymar that we know and that we see all the time, and starts to make it more look like one of those kind of deep sea exploration videos when they're going down to hydrothermal vents. It looks really weird. So hopefully that is not a permanent thing that they're putting into the game, because it almost seems like a little too much for the environment, like a little too over the top. But, I mean, it's all relative. That's a subjective thing. That's not so much of an objective reality, right? So, could take, honestly, it's not something that I'm going to be overly adamant about, but it does kind of look out of place. But to each his own, I suppose. Now, of course, the height issue is kind of a big thing, but I was able to jump up when the ship kind of rocked down to its lowest point. I was able to spring myself up onto the elevator and get into the ship, so that was pretty cool. But when you're noticing this thing here that says your party has been disbanded, even though you're not in a party, that is one of the many warnings telling you that you have now been, sadly, disconnected from the server. So yeah, unfortunately that is a very prominent bug in this current version of Star Citizen. So as always, we are making progress, but a release candidate it is not. So with the Reclaimer now seemingly on cooldown, I decided to take the Caterpillar out and kind of do a little bit of a cargo run, but I figured at the same time I would pick up my Dragonflies and store them in the nose of my Caterpillar and just kind of try trucking them around a little while and just seeing what kind of fun I could get into. I mean, I figured if I could get those loaded on the ship, get it out into space, log off, using one of the beds, then hopefully I could spawn back in and it would have me on the ship with my, space bikes attached to it, and we could have some fun that way, set up, maybe film a couple of videos over the weekend using that setup. But unfortunately, the space bikes had different ideas. So what I originally attempted to do was, of course, to turn on the bike and apply just a very slight amount of vertical thrust, but that didn't seem to work. So I tried to move a few different things around. Okay, my different directions are going, but for some reason vertical is not. And I tried to, okay, am I stuck in landing mode? What's going on here? I don't know, maybe, earlier when I brought the bike up to the ship, I was moving a little bit forward, so I don't know. I tried cycling the engines on and off, and I figured, maybe if I have a little forward momentum, the bike will naturally start to hover, and it will take me up just a little bit, and I can just kind of bounce it in there. Nope, just gotta get it, gotta get it kind of turned around, back, gotta get it back towards the ship, back towards the ship. No, that's not back towards the ship. Okay, we're stable, we're good. Okay, no. All right, now just back towards the ship. Back towards the ship. And at this point I'm trying to turn in any direction and the bike is not behaving, so I figure, all right, maybe just give it a little bit more juice. Just take it nice and easy, you know, just nice and easy. Just take our time. Okay, cycle the engines. Maybe. Sometimes that used to work in the old client. Your ship would misbehave. You have to turn the engines on and off a couple of times, and all of a sudden, you know, normal physics would kick in. Nope. Okay, a little too fast. Oh, nope. Wait. What? This isn't good. Okay, come on, get it under control. This isn't good. This is really not good. That's not the way that we're trying to go. And at this point, the bike is just completely out of control. So there appears to be some minor issues with the with the physics and the space bikes and the math and the and the current version of the flight model. It's not really behaving, so I figure 7 kilometers up from the ground, this shouldn't be a problem, right? This shouldn't be a problem. I mean, after all, how dangerous can falling from 7 kilometers be? I mean, certainly, falling from any height in Star Citizen isn't really all that dangerous.
Right again. Settle down. Go ahead. Feel yourself. Yeah, you better get that med pen. Do we get any? Did you die? Oh.
Now at this point, you're thinking that this video is probably going to have a very tragic and gory ending. But we're not talking about old MedPen Glenn here. We're talking about Minion Soldier, baby. You don't need to worry about me. Not a problem. How did I develop so much skill? Well, I guess you could say I just fell into it.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.